Hello, hello, hello again. Uh, if you're watching this and you were watching the first half of this and the technical difficulties that were there, sorry about that. But restarting everything seems to have helped. Uh, so I'll just kind of jump back in. Just quickly, anyone who doesn't know and is watching this potentially as a video, I'm Harry, and I decided to live stream my study sessions to force me to get on and do it. So, and so that's what I'm doing. And so, welcome. We've got a couple of viewers. Say hello in the chat. And so I'm live streaming my sessions so that I can kind of keep myself accountable. And even if I only have a couple of viewers or none for most of my sessions, that's fine because it's just me telling the world I'm going to do it. But then on top of that, though, I kind of figure that, a lot of people are going through this process of studying for the GMAT and kind of seeing someone else maybe have some of the same struggles. Maybe there's something I pick up that might help someone else. Maybe there's something I've already learned that might be useful to someone that they can catch from me. So I figure it could be useful to somebody, hopefully. But bigger than that, I thought it would be cool if there was any chance of making a little bit of a community, kind of having study sessions together, because as much as I'm doing this to keep myself accountable, maybe I can help someone else keep accountable too. So if watching me for half an hour or an hour before you do your own session, like it. All right, nope, that's not working. All right, let's go back to. Hey, Mark, how you going? Or should I say Boar's Ironwood? So for those of you that are just joining me for the first time, welcome to my stream. This is what I'm doing to force myself to study, hopefully every day, kind of like a promise to the universe type thing, and with the chance of the universe actually showing up, I suppose. So basically, my whole plan is to just do some questions. So you can see here, I'll just pop the question up on the screen. I'll try and answer it, and then I'll talk through kind of my thought process. And if I've gotten it right, then maybe that's enough. I'll have a quick look at sort of the given responses to make sure that I was on the right track and I didn't get it right by accident. But otherwise, if I didn't get it right, then I might have to just review something quickly and hopefully figure out where I went wrong and go from there. So yeah, whoever was here before probably didn't get to see it. But basically, I went through this question. And so if you're seeing a sentence correction question for the first time, that's what this looks like. So they give you a sentence and they underline part of it, or in this case, the whole thing. So you can see my mouse now. Yeah. So they give you a sentence and they underline part of it, like I said, in this case, the whole thing. And then they give you 5 options for how you can fix the sentence. So I went through this before, let's call it before the break. And I answered D, and they say that D is wrong. They say that it's A. And I'm reasonably confident that that is actually the wrong answer. And so stepping through the logic really quickly. So reading the sentence, the planet Pluto in the solar system is the farthest from the Earth. So the meaning they're trying to say here is that of the planets within the solar system, Pluto is the furthest away from Earth. And let's just ignore the fact that Pluto is not a planet anymore. Obviously, at the time this was written, it still was. Within the solar system, furthest away from Earth, Pluto. as far as planets are concerned. That's what they're trying to say. Now, if I read this first option, so the given sentence will always match answer A. It's still a planet in my heart too. In my heart too. I mean, it's technically a dwarf planet, which I still think counts. But anyway, that's beside the point. The planet Pluto in the solar system is the farthest from the Earth. Now, I thought there's some ambiguity in this structure. Specifically, if we take out in the solar system, so this is a prepositional phrase. So the preposition in, this phrase is describing Pluto. So the planet Pluto in the solar system, where is it? It's in the solar system. So that's all this is doing. And so if we ignore it for a second and look at just the core of the sentence, yeah, we're all Pluto fans. So if we look at just the core of the sentence, what it's saying is Pluto is the farthest from the Earth. That's basically the sentence. So Pluto is the farthest what from the Earth? I mean, yes, it's the planet Pluto is the farthest from the Earth, but is this actually talking about planets, like any planet? Because that's not true. There are planets that are in other galaxies that are much further away, so it can't be the planet that's the farthest from the Earth. So they're trying to say the planet in the solar system that's the farthest from the Earth, which would be true, again, assuming Pluto is a planet. But it could also be talking about, heavenly bodies within the solar system, just something visible in the night sky within the solar system. So this is a bit ambiguous, I think. It doesn't specifically say that the planet Pluto in the solar system, is the planet within the solar system that's the furthest from the Earth. I think planet has to be part of this prepositional phrase. But anyway, I ruled out B, C, and E really quickly. The main reason being, well, in B, this comma is doing nothing. So the planet Pluto is the what? So that's just straight up wrong. But even if we assume that that's just a typo and it wasn't supposed to be there anyway, then the planet Pluto is the one in the solar system. The one what? We don't know. The planet Pluto is the one thing that you can see in the solar system, which is farthest from, we don't know. That's ambiguous. And then C does the same thing. And E doesn't use the word one, but it does the same thing again. The planet Pluto is that which is the farthest pi net. So you can just see E doesn't make any sense at all. Which brings me back to D. So Pluto is the planet in the solar system, which is the farthest from the Earth. So I thought this was right, just based on the fact that it's the only one that actually says the correct meaning. E all the way. The farthest pi net. You reckon it's the farthest pi net? There might be further pi nets from the Earth, I think. But yeah, so D seemed to be the only one that actually says the right meaning, but it's missing a comma. So if we have a relative clause starting with the word which, it does need a comma here. So that is actually a grammar issue. And so that's why they ruled out, if we scroll down and look at the solutions, they ruled out D based on the fact that which needs a comma. So actually, to make this correct, it would be Pluto is the planet in the solar system that is the farthest from the Earth. I'll tell you what, I'll try to add to my stream rewards. When you get to 1,000 hours of watching me, I'll buy you a pie. Okay, just for the two of you as my first two viewers. I don't want to make that an offer to everyone in case I ever do get someone who watches me for 1,000 hours and I have to try and find a way to send them pie. Anyway, Yeah, this should be that is the farthest from the Earth. Pluto is the planet in the solar system. That is the farthest from the Earth. Um, and there's sort of two parts to that. One is the one I just said, where if it's which, it needs a comma. The reason, okay, done. The reason it needs a comma is because this is a relative clause which is not necessary to the sentence. Like if it was, so if it was okay, Pluto is the planet in the solar system. Um, well, yeah, let's change the sentence a second to make this correct with a comma. Pluto is a planet in the solar system, which um, has a large orbit or something like that. So having a large orbit is not critical to whether or not Pluto is a planet in the solar system. But so we can put a comma there and put which at the end. And then the which, everything after the which is not actually necessary, but it just describes Pluto. It's like Pluto is a planet in the solar system with a very large orbit, which has a very large orbit or something like that. We don't need to know the information about the large orbit, but it's there as description. Um, but in this structure where we have the planet, Pluto is the planet in the solar system. If we just stopped there, it would make no sense. So we actually need the part in the relative clause to explain what this sentence even is talking about. And if that's the case, then you can't put a comma there because a comma is cutting it off from the rest of the sentence. In other words, saying it's not necessary. In that case, you have that instead of which. So yeah, Pluto is the planet in the solar system. That is the farthest from the Earth. Okay, so you like challenges, especially involving pi. Okay, well, tell you what, you find a convenient way for me to send pi, and when you get 1,000 hours, we'll talk. Cool. Uh, for these verbal questions, so these sentence correction ones, I'm aiming for about 90 seconds. So let's just have a quick go. Oh man. See you, Mark. Have a good one. Or Boars. Thanks for tuning in. Just in time to watch me get two questions wrong. So, all right, I'll step through my logic real quick and then find out what I did wrong. So, two oil companies agreed to merge their refining and marketing operations in the Midwest and the West, forming a new company for controlling nearly 15 of the nation's gasoline sales. I have to assume they mean 15%. You reckon it's B? Yeah, they do too. So, nice one. Um, yeah, that's got to be 15% that they're trying to say there. So let's just assume that they also like that. That's what it's saying. Forming a new company for controlling. That's just idiomatically incorrect. Um, you don't make companies for controlling. You make them to control. Forming a new company to control, or in this case, that would control. So yeah. Oh, did I say C? That's really obviously wrong. So I'll skip ahead to C real quick. C is actually really obviously wrong. And so I've made my trademark mistake of rushing it and not reading it, especially considering I still had, like, if I'm talking about wanting to finish this within 90 seconds at the latest, I still had 40 seconds to play with. So I had plenty of time to pause. But anyway, which would form a new company that controlled. The tense is all wrong here. So I I found that was the same problem with down here. If we're saying the two oil companies agreed to merge, um, it seemed odd to me then that it had already formed as well. Like it seems like the timing of this was they've agreed to merge and it will form a company that will control essentially, or could hypothetically control. So this being past tense and which formed being past tense seemed wrong to me. So that's how I ruled out D and E. A I ruled out, like I said, for controlling is just idiomatically incorrect. And so we're kind of left with B and C. Forming makes sense in that it could still be happening right now. The process of them forming a new company could still be happening. And so for that reason, it does kind of make sense. I kind of rushed past that and sort of thought, are they saying it's already formed as well? No, but like in reality, no, forming means it's still continuing. So the two oil companies agreed, so that the agreement part's done, forming a new company for controlling, forming a new company that would control nearly 15% of the nation's gasoline sales. Yeah, that actually makes total sense. And the reason C is just obviously wrong, even though I said it was right, is that controlled. That's even worse than which formed. How can it, in the future, it would form a company that already in the past controlled nearly 15% of the nation's gasoline sales? This is the worst of the three answers, and I picked it just because I thought I had ruled out the rest, and that's just really bad technique. So I will not do that again. Yeah, which that controlled, which for controlling. Did D say for controlling as well? Yeah, so that's wrong on both counts. For controlling is wrong idiomatically, which formed a new company that would control. The relative pronoun which incorrectly refers to west. Oh, that's interesting. Let's have a quick look at that. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. With relative pronouns, or with relative clauses like this, the ones using which, they always refer to the nearest noun, or in this case, noun phrase. So I think this answer is slightly wrong. It's saying the relative pronoun which incorrectly refers to west. Technically, it refers to the Midwest and the West. Actually, you could argue it's refining and marketing operations. So refining and marketing operations is a noun, and in the Midwest and the West is a prepositional phrase describing where the refining and marketing operations are. Yeah, refining and marketing operations in the Midwest and the West. So if we treated it like that, this is just a prepositional phrase describing refining and marketing operations. And so forming a new company, well, which would form a new company. Refining and marketing operations, which would form a new company. Yeah. I think moral of the story is that's a lot of real estate between the two companies and which would form. Whereas the reason this is much clearer, the reason forming is okay, is if you've got a participial phrase, so in this case, present participle, that's an ing form of a verb saying something is still happening, like I am walking, running, riding, talking. In that case, in this form of the verb, when you put it at the end of a sentence, it doesn't just refer to the nearest noun, it refers to the entire clause. So forming a new company is now referring to the two companies agreeing to merge their operations in the Midwest and the West. And I should have spotted that, actually. I did, obviously I know that rule, so I should have spotted that this would be referring to the entire the entire clause, sorry, whereas which is only really, it's probably not jumping past Midwest and the West, if I'm honest. So, yeah, I needed to think about that a little bit more instead of rushing. Like I identified this problem for controlling, and I ruled out E and D based on this past tense. But maybe that's not technically a problem. It's just the fact that it's awesome. All right, let's go. Excited for the last one? Ready to be done listening to me talk? This is topical. I think I finally got one. Oh, really? uh, well, technically this question, if I scroll down just a sec, you can see where it came from. I think, yeah, this question is from 2008. So it can't really be referring to what we think it's referring to. But at the same time, it is very topical, and I think it got back to the top of the pile because of that. Um, so the first thing I noticed was the fact that I actually took about 90 seconds and got it right, which is, I think, a pretty clear sign of what is possible if you don't rush, or if I don't rush specifically. But anyway, yay. So, yeah. So reading the sentence, what it's trying to say is basically that there were 40 insurgents, and since they took control, they've started getting arrested, and one of them got killed. One of these insurgents was killed. And who's saying it? The BBC reporter is saying it. So a lot of a lot of my ruling out of answer choices on this question was down to the placement of words and how it changed the meaning. So if I start from the bottom with E, for example, security forces have arrested the BBC reporter since taking control of the capital. I mean, that's pretty clearly saying that security arrested the reporter, but not then the insurgents. Like, does that really make sense? Probably not. It would make far more sense for them to be arresting insurgents. And then also just the rest of the sentence doesn't make sense anymore either. So security forces arrested the reporter, about 40 insurgents of the majority political group killing one of them. Well, now the rest of that sentence doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't fit with the start. So with D, security forces, since taking control of the capital, have, the BBC reporter says, arrested. So now this is saying that security forces took control of the capital, not insurgents. So that's an incorrect meaning. Doesn't make sense. C, the BBC reporter, since taking control of the capital, says, so now this is saying that the reporter took control of the capital. Unless, I mean, I don't know how good this reporter is at martial arts, but probably not taking over the capital by themselves, so that one's out. And we'll skip up to A. Since taking control of the capital, the BBC reporter says security forces have arrested. That it would be impressive. It would be impressive. I mean, they can take control of the capital by the power of the written word, by changing hearts and minds. That's the way to do it. But yeah, so the yeah, I know, I'm a comedian. So you came for the grammar, but you stayed for the jokes. Since taking control of the capital, the BBC reporter says security forces have arrested. This is the rule that I just got wrong in the last question, and so I'm glad I didn't get it wrong again this time. Since taking control of the capital, this would be referring to the very next noun. So whoever took control of the capital needs to be the next thing mentioned after the comma, because it won't be referring to, it's not like when we had the participles, so we had the ing word at the end, where it referred to everything before it. This can't refer to everything after it, I don't think. Point of the story is I'm relatively confident that that can't be there because it needs to refer to the noun immediately after. Yeah. Okay, hang on. When a prepositional phrase functions as an adverb, it describes the whole clause before or after. Can be at the beginning, middle, or end. For example, I go to bed at 11 p.m. So at 11 p.m. is a prepositional phrase, and it's not describing bed, because what is a bed at 11 p.m. doesn't make any sense. So it has to be describing the entire clause. So the act of going to bed, it's describing that, and that happens at 11 p.m. So yeah, a prepositional phrase actually does describe the entire clause. So since taking control of the capital, this is a prepositional phrase because it's describing the timing of whatever thing happened. Since taking control of the capital, the BBC reporter says security forces have arrested. So I actually ruled this one out for the wrong reason. Since taking control of the capital, grammatically, I think is correct. It's still incorrect because of the meaning, I think, because it's still kind of saying that the BBC reporter is the one that took control of the capital. I think it is still saying that, even though it's referring to the whole clause after. It's like, since taking control of the capital, it's kind of, well, I mean, the BBC reporter is the one that's doing all the acting here. So with a different, if this was different, it still could make sense. Like, since taking control of the capital, insurgents have been arrested by security, the reporter says, or something like that. That would actually kind of make more sense, because then it's putting insurgents with this. So even though it applies to the entire clause, it still doesn't work. Because I don't see how this could be referring to anything other than BBC reporter. So yeah, I mean, going back to the other, yeah, awesome. Yeah, going back to the other example, like if we were going to use this structure for the going to bed thing, so at 11 p.m., the BBC reporter went to bed. It would still be like the reporter that went to bed at 11 p.m. And so, I think, yeah, I think insurgents would need to be here. They would need to be in the prepositional phrase to make this work. Since insurgents took control of the capital, since the insurgents took control of the capital, the BBC reporter says security forces, yeah, whatever. Like, since insurgents took control of the capital, the BBC reporter announced for like security had started making arrests or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, but yeah, it's something like that. I think that's probably the issue. Anyway, B is correct. The BBC reporter says that since taking control of the capital, so this part's offset from the rest of the sentence because it's not actually necessary, but it just describes when. Security forces have arrested about 40 insurgents. Yeah. Yeah, I think you could almost take it back to, even if this is grammatically correct, going just by the rule, saying that you can have this prepositional phrase and it describes everything after, what it actually means would be ambiguous, because it's not clear who took control of the capital. It reads like the BBC reporter did, but that doesn't actually make any logical sense. So yeah, so it wouldn't be the reporter that took control of the capital. So who did? It's hard, like you can't really say based on just the structure. So I think even though a prepositional phrase here is not actually a problem, the fact that what it's talking about is unclear, that's the problem. Yeah. So let's see what. So this response was posted by Crack Verbal, one of the test prep companies. If you're interested, I had a brief look at some of their free trial, and like they had some good math stuff that I saw, so I thought that was good. Free plug for Crack Verbal. Thank you for the question and response. So since taking control of the capital, the sort says option A contains an error of a misplaced modifier. So they're saying that this modifier shouldn't be here. And I would tend to agree just based on the fact that like it's ambiguous, like what it's talking about. The reporter, it sounds like the reporter took control of the capital, and it's not right. Incorrectly modifies the BBC reporter. That one was like what I said as well, and it was obvious, I thought. The BBC reporter splits the verb have arrested. Yeah, that's the biggest issue there. So, I mean, I was saying since taking control of the capital is referring to security forces, but that is a big issue. Like you're saying, have arrested. That's one verb, and they've broken it up, which is a problem for sure. And then E, security forces have arrested the BBC reporter. They didn't arrest the reporter. They arrested the insurgents, which is, yeah, same logic that I was able to come to, thankfully. Yeah, so that makes B correct. And some of these other responses say the same thing about modifier problems. I'm just scrolling through because I'm kind of hoping that someone talked about the since in option 1. I mean, people just keep saying misplaced modifier without actually kind of elaborating on the thing that I was just talking about. I mean, if I'm thinking about this correctly, yeah, they do. This poor reporter is just trying to do their job, and all of a sudden they're getting arrested for insurgency. Although, to be fair, if this was talking about sort of more recent events in the US, then the number would be a lot bigger than 40, based on the number of arrests I think they've made already. But anyway. Oh, so this is official solution. Right. So this question requires clarification as to who took control of the capital, which is what I used as my basis for figuring out what I thought the answer was. In the original sentence, it seems as if the BBC reporter took control. To fix the sentence, the acting party, security forces, must be clarified. Yeah. So I don't know if you watch any of Jordan Klepper, but he's quite funny. One of the correspondents for The Daily Show. So, you know, quote unquote fake news, which is more true than a lot of other news outlets out there. But anyway, yeah, he was there during the January 6th insurgency, because he was covering the rally beforehand and sort of, yeah, was there. But weirdly enough, he didn't get arrested for insurgency. So I guess he wasn't one of them. Anyway, getting off track. So this option splits the acting party's security forces from the action taking control of the capital. Yeah. Oh, that is interesting, actually. I suppose you could read this sentence and and understand it to mean that the security forces were like retaking control of the capital. I mean, which would be a different word than taking, but yeah, the acting party is security forces and they're taking control of the capital. And since they did that, they started arresting insurgents. That's actually probably more accurately the meaning of the sentence, that it's since security took control, they started making arrests. And either way, it's still splitting, like this says, it's splitting the acting party from the action. So security forces taking control is broken up by the BBC reporter saying something. So that's why they think number one is wrong. I think that's a reasonable explanation, to be fair. This option places the BBC reporter at the beginning of the sentence as the observing party and makes it clear that security forces have taken the capital. Yep. So B is accurate. 3 is right, except that it's the reporter taking control. 4, D is unnecessarily wordy and even more confusing. Fair enough, I agree with that. But also just have arrested, broken up by a BBC reporter. And insurgents, not the BBC reporter, were arrested by security forces. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough rambling, I think, for one evening. Thank you for sticking through it with me, through all of the technical difficulties and trying to fix all of that. And hopefully all of the kind of adjustments and tweaks that I made in this one will follow through to the next one, and I won't have to kind of keep making fixes every time. So yeah, hopefully that kind of keeps working. Because yeah, I think the setup is starting to kind of work, as long as it doesn't glitch out. Yeah, happy to help. Yeah, thanks again. All right. Well, I'm more or less just got most of these questions wrong, and sometimes I feel like the answer that they gave was actually the wrong one, and I might have gotten it right, but hard to say. But either way, I think I revisited some of the theory a little bit, especially around prepositional phrases, participial phrases. I think those, or clauses, I think those, I think revisiting some of that theory will help solidify it. And I hope that it might have done the same for you. Anyway, thanks again.